Second half of our show, and guest Ed Volanino.
Right.
Ah, we got it right this time.
Of Ed's Heads.
Of Ed's Heads. And you can see what we have here. We do have a lot of heads.
Yeah, we've got a few heads here, yeah.
You carve these out of, what is the tree, cabbage palm?
Right. Cabbage palm, sable palm, about
now,
the
you
same.
said there was one tree that you said you didn't use.
Sequoia or redwood.
But I think you also said at one point you didn't use coconut palms. Why?
Because they're too stringy. They're like shredded wheat. You know, that cereal shredded wheat.
Like the fibers on a coconut, actually?
Yeah, they're real fiber.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you can't get a good cut on them.
And these are really interesting. I mean, these are standing. They're taller than I am.
Right.
This one is easily 5.5 feet tall. The one next to you is about the same. When you start working on these, and actually, how long ago did you start doing these?
You know, sometime like a month ago, when I first started, you mean?
Yes, when you first started. Not this one, but when you first started.
I was a youngster.
Well, you actually took art and did clay sculpting in school, right?
Yeah,
How did you go from clay to the palm trees?
Well, I went out and looked for a palm tree, and you mean why?
Yeah, why did you go from the clay to the trees? I mean, there must have been something that caught your attention, something that you wanted to do.
It's in my book. They're easy to find sometimes, and they're all over the place, and I go around and look for them.
You brought several photographs with you tonight.
Right.
And I think the first one to come up is going to show a stockpile, actually, of these trees that you've had. And you said it takes something like a year and a half for them to dry.
Yeah, that's the way I like them. They got to be very aged, like a fine wine, you know.
Now this right here, this is the stockpile. You said you hit the mother lode.
That's my mother lode there. That's the yeah. I don't find them like that all the time. That's a.
Well, was this all in one place, or was this?
Yeah, it was North Merritt Island. That pile. That was a great pile. Gosh.
Oh, that was all in one place. You didn't have to assemble that.
Right.
Then.
If anybody out there's got dead palms, call me.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. There we go. Because Ed will haul them away, and he won't even charge you to do it.
No, I'll haul them away. You won't even know they were there.
Well, in fact, I'll tell you what. We know from talking where we can find your work, and that's at Conky Joe's.
Right.
It's Conky Joe's.
Conky
and
Joe's.
You actually have quite a display there. You've got a whole.
Yeah, I have a display room, and you can come in there and browse and have a beer, and it's in O'Galley. It's one of the finer establishments over there.
This piece right here. Tell us what we're seeing here.
That's me with a bunch of my heads.
And the name of the business is Ed's Heads.
Right, yeah. There's a Fred's Heads, he cuts hair, and there's a Ted Sheds, but stick with Ed's Heads.
You're the only Ed's Heads.
Yeah.
Where do you get the inspiration to do these? Because the faces are all different. They're interesting. Some of them are comical. Some of them are just kind of serious. Some of them almost look like hobbits and druids.
That's a mailbox tiki, yeah.
And didn't you say that there's certain things that you have to do when you make a mailbox? You have to comply with some regulation or something?
Yeah, they've got to be 4 feet. Yeah, the mailman wants you to make them approximately 4 feet, so when he comes along, sticks the mail in,
he doesn't have to get out of his truck.
Height. Otherwise, they'll make you dig them up and redo them.
Yeah, I guess. Some of these are small pieces, and some are quite large. But I noticed when you were bringing them in, some of the small pieces actually seem to weigh more than the larger pieces. What is the reason on that? I mean, they're all the same kind of wood.
Right. Well, I have to wait till they dry out about a year and a half, 2 years. You know, so they're not full of water. These things have a lot of water in them to begin with, and so you got to know exactly the right kind. I mean, how aged and to make a perfect tiki. You know.
Well, now, for example, this one right here, and this is really this is
you really like that one, don't you?
Pardon me?
You really like that
one? I really do like this one. The bottom half of it, which you can't really see on camera, is the tree trunk itself. Then it's wrapped with rope.
Right.
And then you've done all the carving on it.
Hand painted, and I burn it with a torch, a propane torch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, spray paint. I'm giving away all my secrets now. Everybody's going to know how I do them.
I have a feeling you could tell people all day long what you've done, and they would not be able to duplicate this work, because this is a lot of good hard work.
Yeah,
A lot
it's,
of years have gone into it.
Yes, yeah, I just don't knock them out like an assembly line. They're all hand carved from head to toe.
This one that's sitting right next to you, that gold one, it's a gold, it's a bronze. That is really a neat piece.
That is a neat one. I've done a couple. That's a new one. A new like a it's like a 2002 model with some real
There we
gold
go.
on there. I've done a couple copper ones and a couple silver ones too. It's kind of something new.
And that reminds me of a chess piece.
Does it? Oh,
Yeah, it really does. I don't know if it's the finish on it or if it's the shape of it or what, but it did. It reminded me of chess pieces.
It's like a golden idol head or something.
It's neat.
That
Well,
was a good day when I did that.
we've got some of the other ones here on the stage, and they actually get quite comical.
Yeah.
Some of them look very Hawaiian, very Polynesian.
Right, yeah.
And then some of them just have their tongue sticking out, and it's just like, what kind of a day were you having? This piece right here, now this is not the wood. This is not the tree. This is
That's
lava rock.
Yeah, I had that imported from Hawaii.
I think you're pulling my chain on this
Man.
one.
But you can get it at any landscaping place or whatever, you know. It's not the coquina, it's lava rock.
It is lava
and
rock.
You got to wear goggles, and you got to have a steel hammer and some stone cutting chisels to do that, baby. But I mean, you don't use these, otherwise they'd get too dull.
I guess you'd ruin the tools in a hurry, yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we bring up the next piece that's on there, because I wanted to see, I think that, I don't know, remember if that's stone or not, but after we see that, I'd like to have you get down here and just do a little carving on this, because I thought it was really kind of interesting watching how this came together. In fact, why don't we go ahead and do that now?
Right now?
And okay,
Okay,
go ahead and just get in there and do a little bit of
I
this.
better give a little disclaimer. I don't want kids trying this at
Yes,
home.
these
It's
tools
for
are-
professionals only.
These tools are very sharp. He wouldn't
you
even
just-
let me have them.
Right.
So
It's my first time to carve in a studio like this, so. But they get the idea. Okay. Got an eyeball started there, so
give you a little more cord here so you
every
don't run
tool
out.
does a different, that does a nostril or an eyeball or whatever.
So you've really gotten to the point where your tools are very specific.
Yeah, you just gotta know where to put it. Looks pretty easy. That's a good piece.
And we have chips flying.
Yeah, we'll vacuum them up later.
And it looks like this piece of wood is fairly dry.
Yeah, that's a dry one, all right. Yeah.
Does that
So-
actually make it easier to carve?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you don't have water gushing out of it. But
What?
it's which happens, you know.
No,
Yeah,
I
so
did not know.
I think everybody knows this. I mean, I take it for granted that it's a
No, I guess probably until you get into them, you really don't. You have a
polyurethane finish. Oh,
this-
that one.
Yes,
That's,
this is the one I wanted to see. Now, is this wood or is this stone?
that particular. Oh, that's
Yeah.
an early one of me before I could afford the haircut. I wasn't making much money, and
And
kind of looks like Brad
And from the
Pitt,
tool, it looks to me like that might be the wood. Is that the cabbage palm, or is
Yeah,
that?
that's a typical palm, just like these. Yeah, that's.
Oh, wow.
Just an earlier style I was doing back then. It's
Yeah, it looks completely different. It has, in fact, when you looked
see
at it, I
the-
couldn't quite figure out where the mouth and the eyes were, and then
you-
all of a sudden it came into focus, and there it was.
Did you notice my physique on that one?
Oh,
That was
definitely.
definitely in
Yes.
shape
Oh,
back
yeah.
then.
Great shape. Probably good arms from all this carving.
Oh yeah.
When you work on a piece like this, I know you can't say, oh, well, it takes me 5 hours or it takes me 5 days, but what is the typical time that you put into something like this? And I know you're carving, you're painting, you're putting the rope on it, but
What's a typical time?
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
is different. But, like every piece of art's different. It all depends on how much detail and how I'm feeling that day, how many breaks I take. I can't tell you exactly how many hours it takes to do these things because everyone's different. It's some take days, some take weeks.
oh,
months.
really? Depends on how many breaks you take,
Years.
right.
You know.
Could I have a couple of those tools? I'd just like to take a look at them, and I promise I will give
Be
them
careful
back.
now. This is
They're very sharp. They're not as heavy as I thought they
right.
were.
Yeah, and you can even touch this if you.
Oh, this time I get to have the
Let
hammer.
me try the.
This is light.
Right. You
This
can
is-
swing it all day long. It's made out of hickory.
I was expecting it to be very heavy.
It's no, it's
Wow.
hickory. You can swing it all day.
And so why do you use a wooden mallet versus a metal one or versus a one that's a hard rubber?
You know what? I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe I ought to go home and try a metal one. This looks like real gold. I just spray paint it to make it look kind of cool. But. So that's, and then I've got all these other ones. This is your typical, there's...
well, now we have something on the monitor.
Okay.
And this is an interesting, this is you.
That's me.
What is this is a record
That's
album.
a Leon Russell. For all the old timers out there will know who he is. He blues, rock. Anyways, I gave him a head when he played at Brassey's, and I had Leon in the forehead, and he hand painted. It was the first Ed's head ever painted, and that album outsold Michael Jackson's Thriller that year.
That's awesome.
That
is really awesome. When you have these painted, I want to get back to this, whether it's this one or this one. What is the finish on these?
Polyurethane varnish. I try to varnish all of them. And I get the rope from Port Canaveral. I nail that rope.
Oh,
on.
really?
Gives it a little extra.
Oh, yeah. Now,
effect.
A finish like this, can this sit outside or should it really be inside?
Oh, they can go indoor or outdoor.
And the rain doesn't hurt them?
Well, I can't say that. I
can't say that, yeah.
Them. You know, nature will take its toll on about anything around here, won't it?
I would think that if I had something like this, that I certainly wouldn't want it outside in the weather.
Right.
I mean, this is like a fine painting.
You're right. And when I'm dead and gone, these things are going to be worth millions, probably.
Oh, there you go. And they're going to outlive you by a long time.
Yeah, that's always what happens. The artist dies poor and dies in the gutter, and then his
work becomes worth millions.
Yeah.
One more time for us, Country Joe's.
Right.
As to where these you can find these every day of the week.
And you can email me at edsheadstikis@aol.com.
Why don't you give that one more time? I know
edsheads, capital EDS, heads, @aol.com.
There we go.
Or at Conky Joe's Seafood Restaurant.
Ed, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
I want to thank you
pleasure.
for sharing this work.
Thanks.
And I want to thank you for watching. I'm your host, Sharon Sebastio, and our thanks, as usual, to Stein Mart for supplying my wardrobe. Come back and see us next week. You'll be glad you did.